China, panic floods kill people, destroy bridges, washed away roads. It began like any ordinary summer morning. Clouds drifted low, air thick with heat, but by 7 a.m., the skies opened with fury. In Baoding's Fuping County, rain slammed the ground at 145 millimeters per hour. Streets turned to rivers. Rivers turned to monsters. People ran, some barefoot, some carrying children. The water didn't rise. It attacked. Fast, violent, unforgiving. In Jinnan's Laiwu district, over 300 millimeters fell in just 5 hours. Houses collapsed. Cars floated like toys. Panic swept through neighborhoods. Sirens howled, but many heard nothing over the roar of rain. 2 lives lost in Hebei, 2 more missing. These were only the first numbers, and everyone knew more would follow. The flood didn't knock. It crashed through doors, tore up highways, swallowed villages. Videos showed bridges snapping like twigs, roads crumbling into roaring voids. People shouted into their phones, cried for help, prayed someone was listening, but the storm was louder. This wasn't just a rainstorm, it was chaos, a nation on edge, and by the time the sun rose fully, the question was no longer if things would break, but how much more had to fall before they stopped. The flood didn't choose, it consumed. From the mountains of Guizhou to the plains of Hebei, water tore through provinces like a beast unchained. In Baoding, entire communities vanished beneath a rising tide. In Beijing's Miyun district, 4,000 residents fled as rivers swelled without warning. In Shandong's Jinan, Laiwu district disappeared under a wall of rain. Streets, once bustling with cars and voices, were buried under brown, rushing water. Rooftops became islands. People waved desperately from balconies, waiting for help that struggled to arrive. Further south, Guangxi faced its own nightmare. Landslides crashed down mountains. Villages were buried. In Hubei and Henan, the rivers broke their limits. Concrete barriers shattered. Roads became lakes. And in Anhui, farmland drowned. Rice fields turned to open water. Livestock swept away. What united these places wasn't geography. It was helplessness. It was speed. The water came too fast, too wide. No siren, no warning. Just a wall of chaos moving city to city, hour to hour, from rural hillsides to dense city centers. Nothing was spared. And as each province fell, it became clear this wasn't a regional crisis. It was a national unraveling, a disaster that respected no border and showed no mercy. The flood wasn't a headline. It was a scream broadcast live. Videos poured in, raw, shaking, unfiltered. A man standing on a rooftop, filming a bus as it sinks beneath a wave. His voice breaks, then silence. On another screen, a drone captures a highway bridge collapsing in real time. Cars vanish, metal twists, the river roars. People watch from a distance, frozen, helpless. In villages, entire streets dissolve into water. Concrete buckles. Power lines fall. One clip shows a child carried away by the current, the parent chasing behind, barefoot, breathless, too late. Social media lit up with panic, posts begging for help, location shared with battery at 1%, live streams cut mid-sentence, no warning, just black screens. News anchors spoke with shaky voices, maps updated by the hour. But the images said more than any report ever could. The ground was gone, roads erased, neighborhoods unrecognizable, and still the rain fell. The waters climbed higher. The fear spread faster. This wasn't a disaster caught after the fact. It was one unfolding in real time, before the world's eyes, and no one, not the authorities, not the people, could stop it. Only watch and hope to survive. The numbers started small. 2 dead in Hebei, 2 missing, but the toll kept rising. In Shandong, 10 disappeared in one village alone. In the south, 9 confirmed dead, 8 still unaccounted for. Each number, a name, a face, a life now washed away. They didn't die in silence. Some were caught on video, clinging to poles, swept under bridges, calling for help as the current pulled harder. Others vanished without a trace. 1 minute alive, the next, gone. A mother was found holding her baby, both lifeless in a flooded stairwell. An elderly man was discovered in his kitchen, water up to the ceiling. He had never tried to leave. He believed the storm would pass. For many, there was no warning, no evacuation, just rain, then panic, then nothing. Grief spread as fast as the flood. Families searched hospital, shelters, debris fields, hoping. Some found loved ones, others never did. And as the rescue teams kept digging, the reality sank deeper. This wasn't just a natural event, it was a mass tragedy. The flood didn't just take homes or roads, it took people. And for those left behind, the pain will last long after the water fades. The roads didn't flood, they vanished. What used to be highways now looked like rivers carved by centuries, not hours. Asphalt peeled back, guardrails bent like wire, streetlights toppled, blinking underwater. Bridges collapsed without a sound. One moment they stood firm, the next, they crumbled like sandcastles. In Shanxi, a bridge gave way while cars were still on it. Metal twisted, screams echoed, then silence. In Shandong, entire road networks were erased. Rescue trucks turned back, ambulances stuck. What was once connected was now cut off. Villages isolated, cities severed. Drainage systems failed first, then power lines, then communication towers. Even the strongest structures cracked beneath the weight of relentless water. Concrete wasn't enough. Steel wasn't enough. Nothing was. In rural areas, farmers watched helplessly as the only road into town dissolved in a flash flood. Supplies couldn't get in. People couldn't get out. Maps became useless. GPS led to dead ends or underwater paths. The landscape changed faster than any system could track. This wasn't just flooding. It was collapse. The backbone of daily life broken. And in its place, chaos, mud, silence. A nation built on modern infrastructure now stood fractured, exposed, and vulnerable. As the skies broke open, the government scrambled. Flood alerts were issued for 11 provinces. Evacuation orders echoed across loudspeakers, but for many, it was already too late. The water was faster than the warning. In Beijing's Miyun district, 4,000 people were evacuated overnight. School gyms turned into shelters. Mattresses lined the floors. Parents held children close, eyes fixed on phones, praying the worst had passed. But in rural villages, the story was different. No signal, no warning, no help. People relied on neighbors, not authorities. A man climbed a tower to wave a red flag for rescue. Another swam across a flooded road to carry medicine to a trapped family. Helicopters flew above, boats moved in, but they couldn't reach everyone. Roads were gone, bridges destroyed, entire towns cut off, waiting in silence. Press conferences spoke of coordination, of resources, of strength. But on the ground, people asked the same question. Why weren't we ready? This wasn't the first flood. It won't be the last. Yet again, early warning systems fell short, and when disaster came knocking, too many doors were left unguarded, too many people left alone. The flood was only the beginning. As the water spread, the land began to shift. Hills weakened by days of relentless rain started to break. Landslides crashed down in the dark, burying roads, crushing homes, silencing entire villages in seconds. In Guangxi, a mountain village disappeared overnight. No warning, just the sound of earth ripping apart. In Hubei, trees slid from slopes like matchsticks, blocking rivers and creating new threats. Instant dams ready to burst. Beneath the surface, more danger brewed. Cracks formed in smaller dams. Reservoirs swelled to their limits. Engineers worked day and night, patching, measuring, praying. If one more failed, dozens of towns downstream would be lost. In cities, sewage systems overflowed. Contaminated water spread illness. Snakes, rats, and insects fled the flood into homes and shelters. Fear turned from drowning to disease. And the rain didn't stop. New storms built in the distance. Dark clouds crept across satellite images. Meteorologists warned of more to come. People watched the skies, not with hope, but with dread. This wasn't a single disaster. It was a chain reaction, one threat triggering another. And the ground beneath China was still moving, still breaking, still dangerous. As the flood carved its path, rescue teams raced behind it. Boats cut through submerged streets. Helicopters hovered over rooftops, lowering ropes into trembling hands. Time was the enemy. So was water. Every second mattered. In some areas, help came fast. In others, it never arrived. Rescuers waded chest-deep through mud, carrying children in plastic tubs. Volunteers formed human chains to pull strangers from collapsed homes. Firefighters slept in their gear. Doctors worked without rest, stitching wounds under flashlight beams. But resources were stretched thin. Shelters overflowed. Food ran low. Clean water became gold. In one school turned shelter, families shared rice meant for one. In another, medicine was airdropped as roads lay buried under landslides. And still, some remained trapped. Villages with no road access, elderly too weak to climb, children waiting in silence, unsure if help would come. This was no longer just disaster response. It was survival, fueled by urgency, compassion, and exhaustion. The rain kept falling. The rivers stayed high, and those on the front lines kept moving, because they knew every hour could be the difference between life and death. It wasn't enough, but they gave everything, and for many, that was all there was. The flood didn't just wash away homes, it uprooted lives. Tens of thousands forced to leave everything behind. Clothes soaked, photos lost, futures uncertain. Shelters filled with stories of survival and silence in the countryside. Crops drowned, fields turned to swamps. Months of work vanished overnight, livestock gone, food supplies shattered. For many farmers, this was the end of a year's income, if not more. In the cities, factories shut down, roads remained impassable, deliveries stalled, hospitals ran short of supplies, schools stayed closed, and businesses, big and small, sat in darkness. Trains stopped, flights were grounded, trucks rerouted or stranded. The nation's arteries clogged, not just by water, but by the weight of chaos. And then came the psychological toll. Children too scared to sleep, parents haunted by what they saw, communities fractured, not just by the water, but by the fear it left behind. China moved slower, more careful, more alert. The economy trembled. The people mourned, and everywhere, from Guangxi to Shandong, one question lingered in the air like mist. How long until normal returns? No one had the answer, because in many places, the normal they knew was gone, washed away, forever changed. Now, the waters are starting to retreat, slowly, quietly. But what they leave behind is not peace. It is wreckage. It is memory. And it is a question. What have we learned in the mud? Children search for shoes. In broken homes, elders sit beside empty chairs. And in the silence of shelters, survivors count who's missing. Not what, but who. This flood didn't just test structures. It tested trust, in warnings, in systems, in promises made when the sun was shining. Some held, others broke. Across the country, people are rebuilding, yes, but also remembering. The the sound of water rising, the weight of panic, the cold of a long night waiting in the dark. These are scars no storm can wash away, and yet, something else remains too. Hands that pulled strangers from the current, voices that called out in the rain, the quiet strength of those who refuse to leave anyone behind. Nature will strike again, that's certain. But next time, perhaps fewer will be caught off guard. Because now, China has seen what happens when water rises faster than warning. And in that painful memory lies the beginning of a new kind of strength. Prepared, united, awake.